couple days ago, I posted that we're going to be working on this thing. We're going to fix the oil leak on it, and we're going to put some cylinder heads on it. So let's go ahead and pull it apart. We'll get the battery unhooked and get to it. While we're here, I got to check up some grounds on it because it has left me stranded a couple times where I just wiggled the battery cable, the ground cable, and it starts right back up. So. And of course, the tie down that's non-existent. We're going to make this look like it's going to go really fast, but it doesn't. Definitely not as clean as the last Camaro that I worked on, and that is unfortunate. Ugh. All right, well, let's get these V-bands off. Oh no, my white band. Got it. You can see this is where its oil is at. It's been dripping down, but it's actually coming from way higher. Definitely rolling around this. Definitely rolling around this timing cover right here. So we're just going to pull that off here soon and replace it. Alright, let's drain the antifreeze out of this and make a mess like I always do. Because, you know, you can't drain antifreeze without dumping it all over the floor. That's tight. Here we go. Oh, we're making a mess already. I pretty much got everything done on the bottom of the car. At least I think, which that means I don't. I'm going to try to get everything done up here, that way I can get the fans out, get the alternator off, and keep moving. I am telling you what, if you can get a couple pairs of these things, there's little pinch clamps or hose clamps, these things are on Amazon for like 10 bucks. Worth every penny. You got these little fork things, worth it. I bragged about these and I can't get them to work. Now, if you're going to do this on yours, it looks like all this stuff's coming apart really easy on mine, and that's because I just put this together in 2018. So this car has been together for 6 years roughly. So things are coming apart pretty easy. I don't really want to say that because it never turns out good. Okay, on to the next. One of the things that does kind of stink about this, and you gotta do it on LSs too. When you do a 24X, you actually have to take off the coils to get to the bolts. Unlike the LS though, they all come off in one. This one you have to do each coil individually, which is kind of a pain. Just like that. Good. I'm going to save you guys the pain of agony of watching me do the header bolts because they are never enjoyable. They're one of my least favorite things to do, especially in these cars, but it's going to take some time, so I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, got the header bolts out. We're going to lift it up in the air now, hopefully be able to fish that header out. Didn't take near as long as I thought it was going to. Basically, as always, on that side, you should really take out the spark plugs first and the coolant temp sender. That way you don't have to fight the header. Nice. The reason why I'm taking these off, one, for putting heads on it. Two, I really want to get them blasted and recoat them here. As you can see, they're kind of looking ugly, and I really do like how these things fit. I got the driver's side header off, as you guys saw, but the passenger side's fighting me a little bit. I did not realize it, but when I put this in, I must have put the spark plugs in first and then the headers on and then raised it up from the bottom. And, oh, look at that dirt. Beautiful. All right, anyways, doesn't matter. Trying to get the passenger side off, and you can't even get a spark plug socket on the spark plug. I was able to turn one out with a wrench, and the others I can't get to, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do quite yet. Come on. Ugh. All right, header number 2. Headers are out. Now we just need to see if we can't fish these fans out of here. There's those. Now I think, yep, all right. I think it should come out. Well, that was not terrible. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually pull this water pump off, because if I can get the water pump out, we're going to leak all the coolant out that would be in the water pump passages. Therefore, it should lower the coolant level in the block, and I shouldn't make as big a mess when I pull the heads off. So let's try that. These rockers actually have some discoloration to them from the last motor that I purchased with the car. It had been blown up, and you can actually see how blue it is. But the roller was still smooth, and it really wasn't loose. There's no end play. So I just decided to keep running them. The rollers, I'd say, probably did their part when it was blowing up. But as far as the inside goes, everything looks good. They were perfectly fine to run. I actually have a set of roller rockers I'm going to put on it when we put it back together. Some LT4s along with the LT4 heads. Makes sense. Let's go ahead and pull these off. Need a push rod. Sucks. I'm missing it? Oh, that makes sense. Turns out you have to have all the bolts out. Finally got the heads off. Really took me a couple hours to get to this point. So now really our next step is to pull the balancer off, get the timing cover off, and then it'll be all clean up so we can start bolting the new heads on. In the meantime, I need to run these headers over to a buddy to get sandblasted. That way I can recoat them, and we'll see what else we can do to this thing while it's sitting here tore down. I mean, we're this far, so let's couple more bolts.
Yeah, you say you know what one it is.
Am I sure I know which one they go to? Yeah. I sure hope so. I hope I can figure it out. If I can't, we are in trouble. We're never going to get to drive it again.
Yeah. First I need this one.
Oh, you're keeping track of where they go?
That one was that one.
Thanks for letting me know.
And this other one was that one.
At least one of us knows what's going on.
Don't break that.
I'm trying not to.
Don't drop it on the floor even. I don't want you to break it.
I don't want to break it either. These are expensive.
Yeah, those are expensive. Yeah.
Now it's just getting it out of here without ripping the oil pan gasket.
I think you have it.
That's a win when the oil pan gasket doesn't rip. I'm going to turn this thing over to TDC. That means top dead center. And we are going to line this chain dot to dot. Well, it's close, but not quite. We'll go backwards. Oh, yes, it will. Usually they don't. And we are going to get this dot to dot. So let's see if I can show you here. You can see on that timing gear, those two dots lining, and that puts number 1 at top dead center. We're going to pull this cam gear off. It'll be a little easier for me to put back on. But while we got it out here, I think that we're just going to keep snowballing. I got some motor mounts we're going to stick in this thing that I've had for about 5 years, and we'll put those in. I mean, why not? They're right here. They're easy to get to. So we'll get the floor jack. We'll pull that off. I'll show you how to replace these clamshell mounts. So I took the driver's side motor mount off. In order to get access to replace the motor mounts with these polyurethanes, you have to drill out these 2 rivets, and then there's these 3 hammer rivets that you just grind off the top, push them through with a bit or with a vise like I did. This clamshell will come apart like this, and you have the loose engine mount. We're going to use, I use Prothane mounts, mainly because they both come in the package. It's going to be a little more affordable than energy suspension. Part number on this one is 7508BL for black. What you'll see is there is the passenger side, the driver's side, and that'll come with your hardware to put this clamshell back together. So one thing that needs to be noted is these tabs need to be facing up, so they'll be towards the cylinder heads on the motor. It'll drop right in here. It fits into these grooves. Top clamshell will go on. And really, actually, let's before this, let's compare them. So you can see this top one, how it's all smashed down there. It's really broken down. You can actually see some dry rot here. I don't know if the camera will focus on it or not. And one of the big things about that is it'll make the headers where they just won't fit very well. Sometimes they'll butt up against the floor pan. You get some weird vibrations, a lot of engine movement. So we're just going to go ahead and replace these out. And there we are. I'm going to go ahead and paint that a little bit so it doesn't rust in there. That's where I actually ground off the hammer rivets. Got the driver's side back in. Now I got the passenger side off here. This one was a little bit more of a pain to get out of the car, but let's go ahead and, I've already drilled the rivets here. There's 3 of them on this one. Actually, I think there's 4. 1 at the top, 3 at the bottom. Look at the size difference between those 2 mounts. Quite a bit. This one you can actually see how much it's broken down there. We'll get this one placed in there. Motor mounts are in. I'd like to say that wasn't that bad, but they fought me a little bit, and they always do. So right now, I think we're going to get ready to set the heads back on this thing. I'm going to show you the LT4 cylinder heads that I picked up for it. So reality is I have a marketplace addiction. I spend way too much time on it. I'm always buying crap that I probably don't need or I'm never going to use. So the story on these things, so we were actually in Wisconsin at this time, right in the Milwaukee area, and as my wife was coaching, I was in the hotel room, bored out of my mind, scrolling Marketplace, and I came upon a set of CNC ported LT4 cylinder heads. The guy had already sold the LT4 intake, which was kind of a bummer, but they had these LT4 heads, had no clue who ported them. They were on the Corvette that he bought. They ended up blowing up, and a piston went through it and damaged a couple of the valves. So I ended up picking them up for dirt cheap. I had to put a few valves in them and then have them surfaced, but they're ready to go. Let's take a look at them. The LT4 casting is going to be right here. They had brand new valve springs on them at the time. And as you can see in all the ports here, I get some good light in them. Nice, even and uniform. Really kind of tough to get a good picture of the exhaust ports there. So I'm not actually sure who ported these. Really, there've only been a couple companies that have CNC ported LT1 cylinder heads. There's AI, there's TPIS, TEA did some, and I believe Golan does some. Either way, they were a bargain, and I probably have about $500 in this set of heads, so I'm going to use them. I did have to convert an intake to do it, which TPIS does convert intakes. This right over here, yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, right there. That's a TPIS converted intake. They weld on them, they mill them, surface them, grind them, and make them with LT4 heads, and you'll never even know it. Right now, the LT4 intake's like $800 to $1,200 on eBay. No one needs to pay that for one of those things. But TPIS does a service, and I want to say it's $300 or $350 with you supplying the intake. And I'll actually show you this one that's been converted here. This intake's actually sitting on some LT4 AFR heads. And what TPIS does is they add material here. They weld material on. They clean it up or grind it or mill it. I'm not sure which part they do. They may even have a program for it. But anyways, they add material on there. They raise the intake runners for the raised intake runners on the LT4 heads. And then, let me just lift this up here and flip it over. They actually port match it for the raised intake runner of the LT4. That's way worth the $350, and it's probably a better flowing intake than what you'd get with the LT4 intake that you're paying 3 times the amount for. Downfall is, does have an LT4 casting. Don't really care for what I'm doing. So I'm actually using the 9966 PT gasket from Felpro. A lot of people like the Impala SS gaskets, or they'll go with the Mr. Gasket 5716Gs. Those are all great gaskets. For what I'm doing, the stock replacement gasket's going to be perfect. I was going to put both heads on today, but this package, it was actually open from the parts store when I got it. I kind of glanced, and I didn't see anything wrong with the head gasket initially. Then as I got to looking here, got a little bit of damage right here. Then there's some damage right here. This part I didn't really care about because it's up by the push rods, but this one right by the water jacket, and then this one right over here by another water jacket, I just don't want to risk. So I'm going to have to call them and have them order me a new one. So we're on hold until we get a new gasket. Other head gasket came in, so we're back at it. Start putting it back together again. Got all the rockers, push rods on there, adjusted the valves, so it's good to go. Now I just need to, supercharger was kind of a test fit thing. Back to it, we need to put the timing cover on. First, I need to find something to plug the water pump drive hole in the timing cover. So I'm gonna run to town, hopefully find a freeze plug that'll go in there. If not, I'll have to improvise and see what we can make work. Let's talk about the supercharger though. This is an M112 off of a Jaguar that I stuck in the mill and milled all the factory brackets off of. Then I had a friend help me design this lower intake manifold in CAD, and it's all kind of a notch slide together piece that we welded together after that. Built the intake elbow. It all fits underneath the factory cowl with plenty of room behind. It was going to run an LS throttle body on it. It should take the factory throttle cable. So the pulley system on it will actually utilize the factory accessory bracket. So it would wrap the pulley here, I'd add a pulley here, and then it would come and around the alternator. I just kind of ran out of steam on this project. I have everything to put the supercharger back together. Now this thing is kind of permanently on hold unless I end up putting it together for a friend's car. The reason why is because now that I've switched to LT4 heads, this intake was designed for a LT1 set of heads. So with the, so you can see here, you actually see the intake ports here. And they're raising the LT4 heads, and this intake would not work. It'd bolt up just fine. Actually, you can see the bolt holes right here. It would bolt up just fine, but it wouldn't seal on these heads. So I either need to find someone with a LT1 car that I want to use it on, or sell this project. It doesn't need much, but it's kind of a cool project. I just wanted to show it to you guys, and we'll just decide what I'm going to do with it down the road. In the meantime, we need to put the intake on this. I actually had one welded up. I showed you one earlier from TPIS. I had another friend weld one up for me, and we had it surfaced I'm going to use. It's not near as pretty as the TPIS one, but it's going to work for this project. Before I put that on, I'm going to powder coat it though, because I mean, who wants an ugly looking stock colored aluminum intake on there? So we're going to do a little bit of DIY powder coating here shortly. It's going to have to set up a little bit. It's a little bit of casting mark there. Not my best work, but it'll do. While I was waiting for dinner to be ready, I went ahead and plugged the timing cover here. Timing cover's back on. We've got all of our 24X stuff installed. Accessory bracket is tightened back down. Got the intake together, fuel rails and injectors are in it. We're going to run some 60-pound injectors that I had in my old car, and I just went ahead and swapped over to the fuel rails I'd previously powder coated, which looks good. Went to go put it on, but unfortunately I'm going to have to wait on more parts. I'll show you why. So this is the Felpro 386 LT4 gasket. When you go to put it on, looks like it's okay until you kind of move up and you see not tall enough for these ported heads. So what I'm going to do is order some AFR LT4 gaskets. This project was supposed to take a week, and we are going on week 3. While I wait on those intake gaskets and other parts to show up, I'm going to go ahead and address some of the stuff underneath the car that I noticed as soon as I got the headers off. This car was a Chicago car, and it sat, I think, from 2005 to 2018. I'm not exactly sure on the exact time frame. But anyways, since it sat for so long, man, my nose itches. Where was I? Yeah, it sat for so long on grass, so all the moisture coming up from the grass had kind of rotted the bottom side of it, and there's a lot of surface rust. So we're going to attack some of that and try to preserve the car a little bit more. Even though it's a driver, I want to save it for as long as I can. I'll show you what we're working on. Here is a seam right underneath the driver's foot, and it's not quite, I mean, it's still nice and solid, but if I keep letting it go, it's not going to be. So what I'm going to do is kind of the same thing I did back here. Kind of what I did back here is I knocked it down and I sprayed it with some rust converter and then put a light coat of paint over it. So we'll wire brush this off and then put that converter on it. It's some Rust-Oleum stuff that I picked up at a box store. I'll show you what it is here in a moment. And then we'll put a light coat of spray paint on it. Well, bad news. It looked like it was surface rust. It wasn't. A lot of it cleaned up with the wire wheel, but there is a hole in there. We're gonna pretend we didn't see it. We're still gonna convert it, and then I'll probably just go get some seam sealer. The reality of this thing is, it's a driver. I literally do drive it every day during the summer. Maybe I'll patch it someday, but right now we're just gonna seal it up so the water doesn't get up there when I'm driving in the rain. I'll show you what we got. So everything's wire brushed. It's cleaned up pretty decent, but right here is something we're just gonna pretend we didn't see. This is what I've been using, and it seemed to do an okay job so far. And there we go, good as new. This is what I snagged on Amazon for that invisible floor that I had, hoping that it'll seal up and smooth out really nice. We shall see. They will never know. Stuff went on well, smoothed up really nice. It's supposed to scuff a little bit in paint as well, so I'll just put some gloss black on that, kind of like I did back here when I fixed the floor, but I used some of it right back here where I had some heavy surface rust. Had another little spot of invisible floor right here, and this is gonna have to work for now because I am not fixing the floor pans on this anytime soon. So I've actually never used this stuff before. We're gonna give the old college try. We're going to use a touch-up gun and try the Cerakote stuff out. Hopefully it lays on pretty good. My plan is to try to go over the primaries first, get all the way around the tubes and see how that goes. I'm not going to video the entire thing of me spraying them, just some of it, and we'll see how it goes. So it's the next day. They're dry to the touch now. They didn't turn out too bad. I wish I would have adjusted the gun a little bit more and played with it on some cardboard before I sprayed them, because the last couple passes I spread the fan out just a little bit, and that was night and day difference. It was huge. Now I know there's going to be some guys out there that say, why didn't you spend the $400 on some Speed Engineering LT1 headers and just have stainless steel and get over with? Well, for one, I like to do things differently. Two, these headers are actually kind of nostalgic for the 4th gen Camaros. They were manufactured, I should say they were produced by a company called FLP. They were actually built by Hedman Headers back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then they were finished by a company called FLP, Finish Line Performance. And they're based out of Illinois. And what they did is, because of emissions and everything, they put V-bands on everything. So this short, right here, so this short pipe here was actually a cat delete. And then they also came with high flow cats, and you could slap the cats in there and go through your emissions testing and then take them back off and have an off-road Y. So a very cool set of headers. They weren't too far gone. They were pretty heavily pitted, but there's something I just wanted to keep on the car, and I owned them. So I got to play with some Cerakote, learn a little bit, and now we're gonna throw them on the car. So we're hooking up this white pipe again, trying to get everything nice and tight and sealed up. Hopefully no exhaust leaks, but that's not gonna work. So we're gonna straighten that out. So put this exhaust expander in there, and hopefully it'll pull that dent out. We'll see. There we go. That should work. I've been plugging away on this thing off and on the last week. I just haven't had a bunch of time to throw at it. But I almost have everything assembled underneath the engine bay. Getting closer, but here I am putting the coils on, and have this nice powder-coated intake and fuel rails, and I'm going to put a rusty, ugly coil on. Can't have that, so I guess I'm going to paint every single coil, like I've already started to do. Because why not? All right, that looks a lot better. Stick these back in. Perfect. Oh, I should probably put these spark plug wires on first. Maybe. Oh, no. This one's fun to get to. It's just one wire. Ow. That one's gonna burn. What the? I think I'm gonna pause this before you guys hear me say some stuff I'm probably not supposed to. You ever think the makers of NSEs just laugh their asses off when they make this stuff and give you this giant freaking brush? Like, why do I need a brush this big for NSEs when the majority of it's going to be for stuff like this? Like, I'm not working on a crane. If I would, I get a 5-gallon pail and jump in it. This is ridiculous. Just sit here and scrape it all off, get it running down the side. That way you can stick your hands in it and wear it for the next 3 days. It's just fantastic. So you'd think that someone would figure it out, that we just need a little bit. A little goes a long ways. No, it's all over the place now. Whatever, let's go put it in. I just stuck my hand in more antifreeze, anti-seize, anti. There is a T in it. Don't be an idiot. Here, I'm gonna zip tie it. Something like that. Yeah, it didn't work. No, clip that off so I can cut my hand on it later. Nice and sharp, perfect. Never hang a starter by its electronics. Oopsie. There's quite a bit of metal on the end of my drain plug, but it was all fine debris, so I'm hoping that it was from those 2 push rods that I found that were wore on the end. If not, I'd have to put a motor together for it, and that'd be awful. We'll just finish draining out and get the rest of this old oil out of it, and then I should be able to button it up. But other than that, I think that's about it under here. So it should be...
This is not the kind of answer I'm looking for from you.
Alrighty then. Well, I feel like I just did this. And that's probably because I did on another car, on another episode. That's okay. It's been leaking for a while. I just didn't realize it was that bad. Oh, wow. That is a ton of backlash. I am not going to worry about that. We're going to pretend we didn't see it. This is about the point I always drop a U-joint cap and spray needle bearings. Ow. Spray needle bearings all over the floor. Oh, that's neat. Got this fancy drive shaft loop on it. And we're hitting right up there. So in order to get this out, I either have to drop the transmission a little bit, or yeah, that's what it's got to be. Transmission's going to come down a little bit. That sucks. Not a lot, just enough to make a guy mad. Well, hopefully that was enough. Oh yeah, there we go. It's pretty rusty. We should paint it. So I think that not only is it leaking out of there, I think it's leaking the bottom of the cover too. I'm pretty sure this has gears in it, and you can see where they pried the cover off this last time. I think it's just leaking like crazy. I think we'll just put a new cover on it, ignore the excessive backlash, and put a pinion seal in it. Oh yeah. Not gonna lie to you, there's actually more oil in it than I thought there was gonna be. It's been leaking like that for a while, evidently, looking at all this. One of the things that scares me is there's no magnet in it at all. I think it says it's 1141 maybe? 1141, 11, be 22, 33. So that'd be like a 373. That's not even a 390 like I thought. Well, that's boring. I feel like I need to put almost 390s or 410s in it now. Don't do it. I got something else for you guys I'm going to build for it. But no, don't do it. 373 is fine. Leave it alone. Leave it alone, Austin. Good catch. Now, technically, I should be pulling off this back bearing and getting a new crush sleeve and setting the crush and the all that crap. But we're not going to do that. I would do that if I was going to be running this rear end for a really long time. The plans are to build something different for it and go with that. So I'm not going to waste much time with this. A lot of times you can get by like going right up to the crush sleeve where it doesn't want to turn. You turn with the ratchet and then just going just an eighth of a turn more. So, and it does affect the backlash. So with an already too much backlash situation, we're going to add more to it. It's going to be fine. Yep. One of the things I always check is right around here on the yoke. Make sure there's no groove. There is nothing in this one, so we're going to keep using it. I'm going to slide it back onto the pinion. And you guys ever wonder why it's called the pinion? I mean, really? Oh, it's so dirty. Really though, like who comes up with the word pinion? Like, I went down this loophole. Like I am a professional Googler, and I went down it because I'm like, it has to stand for something. Nope, it's just like French and Latin for the little gear. So I just call it like the small gear drive or something. Like I don't understand for the pinion. It's just called pinion in Latin and French, and they just got together and like, hey, let's call it the pinion, and that's what it is. I gotta wash this. That's all there is to it. That's better. Here's the deal I'll tell you guys. When it comes to putting gears in or anything like that, on something like this, I would just get a new cover. You can get them online for anywhere from 10 to 20 bucks. You don't have to get a girdle cover, but when you can get a new cover for 10 bucks, why risk having the dented bottom of it? Now, when they did gears back in this car, I doubt that they would have caused that. But now, we're 20 years later, and I'm sure that's the case. Still going to go to the store and get some limited slip additive to put in there. That's why I didn't fill it completely full. It was gushing out. We'll go get that and finish this project. Yeah, I painted it. Make fun of me if you want. Don't care. Not going to get rust in my eyes though. Earlier in the year, I lowered this car with BMR springs and KYB shocks. And so the front had brand new shocks on it that were the AGX ones, adjustable, but the back still has the factory orange Bilsteins on it. And these things, well, obviously it's from 1996, so 24 years old or whatever they are. That's terrible math. Is that right? Doesn't matter. So things are ancient. So I did buy some matching back ones to put on here. Wasn't going to really throw any more money in this, but I may or may not have told the wife that the rear shocks were blown. And they got some oil on them. They could be blown. We'll find out here in a second. But we're going to throw these things on here, just so we have a matching pair of front and rear. I'm about ready to see if this is going to drop some. Did not. That's good. I'm not going to tell her that. Crap. This one's still good. Still got a chance. To be fair, this car only has like 70,000 miles on it, so I'm not surprised that the shock's not bad. I was just hoping I wasn't going to be a liar. Ah, that was good too. I don't want to tell her that. We just won't. But I mean, they are shinier. And that's something. Alright, I just finished loading the tune into the car. I'm going back to a 1-bar mass airflow tune for ease of tuning. Before I had a 2-bar setup in it, so it was actually set up for boost and a speed density setup. Because I was planning on going with that supercharger, and then things have changed. I'm not going to do it anymore. So we're going back to the mass airflow setup. Just put the startup tune in it, and we'll see if it starts. We're going to turn it over for a moment. I'll save you guys the pain of watching that. We're going to turn it over, build some oil pressure, and then we'll start. I had it idling for a while. I'm getting it up to temperature. I'm going to check for leaks and see if we got everything fixed. So the whole reason why we changed it is that it's solid leak right here. See, it's dry, nothing's coming out from the diamond cover. It's all nice and clean. Obviously, I haven't driven it yet, so I don't know if this is going to leak. Oh wait, something that exhaust leak. Yep, that'll do it. So that's pretty easy. All you got to do to fix an oil leak on the front diamond cover of an LT1 is put some CNC ported heads on it, fix pinion seal, and a tub cover and rear shocks, and Cerakote the headers and Y pipe, and powder coat the intake, and that's about it. I mean, that fixed the oil leak. Finally on the ground. This has taken way longer than I wanted it to. But now we have the idle dialed in a little bit, and I can do some driving, some data logging, and hopefully start tuning in the mass airflow and the VE table. And then, yeah, hopefully I can start driving to work again. This has been way too long. In this video, there was a ton of little things I was fixing off camera, and it's just taken a long time to pay attention to detail, get it back together how I want. I really want to clean it up even more so. I do have to remind myself that this is a daily driver for me. It's not going to be perfect. I got other cars I'm going to do some fun stuff with, but let's go drive it. Whoop, already too fast. Well, that went really well. I put about 50 miles, 45, 50 miles on it. No leaks. No mishaps. Drivability is awesome. The only really thing that I had to go on with it is that flashing check engine light. And the only thing I can think of is that in HP tuners, the sensitivity to misfires is a little too sensitive for the cam that's in it. So we'll have to kind of desensitize that, I think. And then other than that, it was good. So it's that easy. Just do all that work and have no oil leaks. Perfect. As always, thanks for watching. Now we'll move on to the next project, and I can't wait to post about that.